Proving Grounds continues to climb in price regardless of Riot actually sending out all the pre-orders this week. Likewise, the seals seem to be climbing in price. Is there any end to this? Well, we're going to be looking at the market trends and what you can expect with this price action starting right now. So yeah, this is going to be more of the difficult part of this because yeah, it seems like a lot of the prices in the market are either teetering off or starting to fall a little bit. But even still, there are a lot of things that are still catching us off guard, especially with the set one prices. It seems like this never is going to come to an end, but luckily there still seems to be light at the end of the tunnel, though it still does feel a bit far off. That's the hard part. We have wave 2 of this first set that is going to be coming at the end of December to early January, but that's still a long ways off. Likewise, there's still been a couple of boxes and orders that have been able to go to game stores, for example, where they've gotten maybe 4 to 6 booster boxes that they have then turned around and been able to give back to their community. I know for us, we had a Nexus night on Tuesday, and they had, I think, 5 boxes that were able to show up or something along those lines, and they said that they would allow for people to be able to purchase 4 packs at $5 each. And that was something that we were incredibly grateful for and had a great showing of about 43 people at that Nexus night, and each one who was able to complete the 3 rounds of that night were then able to buy 4 packs at MSRP, which is, you know, very comforting to be able to see. But likewise, then you go ahead and you look on the market and you're like, well, where is all of this going? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel for us to be able to actually be able to afford a 1,000 Tail Watcher if we want to build a Victor deck or a Kaisa deck? Are we going to be seeing a Time Warp under $100 or, you know, anytime soon? And unfortunately, doesn't necessarily look as though a lot of that is going to happen. We're seeing Origin Booster Box displays going for around now $280 to $300. We're seeing Proving Grounds going up to $184. And again, I say that because Riot came out and said that they were going to be going ahead and shipping out all of the pre-orders for the Proving Grounds. And you would think that that would help, you know, bring down the prices in the market. But it's been actually quite the opposite. We're still seeing a climb in price. Now, like I said, my Proving Ground pre-order that I ordered ended up actually getting shipped out on Thursday, and so we should be seeing that early this next week, and that might be when we start to see some of the prices come down, but still, I don't think it's necessarily going to be all that much. The biggest reason why I think that is because there still seems to be a scarcity around due to Riot not necessarily saying that they are going to be releasing more Proving Grounds. They've said that they're going to be releasing more packs, more boxes, and things of that nature. They're going to be including a lot of the exclusives of the Proving Grounds in the next set price packs, but still, that doesn't necessarily help the, you know, increase of want of these products here and now. And that in and of itself can be very difficult to try to deal with. You know, we are seeing the Annie Legend going for $40 in and of itself. We're seeing the Flashes still going for $40. We're seeing, you know, all of the Master Yi stuff still being up there in price as well. And it can be very agitating to try to figure out, well, what can we do then to play these decks? You know, they said, guys, Proving Grounds, it's just supposed to be an intro pack and it's not supposed to be meta relevant by any means. And yet here we are with Annie and with Master Yi being in that tier 1 or S tier for Master Yi of competitive play. So the demand is just way higher. And that's kind of the hard part. And I'm wondering and trying to figure out why Riot hasn't necessarily said anything yet. Still, at the same time, I feel as though, are not wanting to give unfulfilled promises in a lot of their ways, and they've been very careful about how they've communicated. You know, we saw 2 weeks after release that they were finally saying, this is how we think set 1 went so far. This is what we're doing to try to fix these issues. Very good job on being able to communicate with that, but still, that's leaving a lot of people disgruntled because, well, the market still isn't calming down. We're wanting to go ahead and play these games, and this game has blown up even bigger than what we have naturally anticipated, which is difficult. you're seeing things like, 28 people at an open, or like at least in my locals, at a Nexus night, at minimum. I don't think, I think the minimum that I've seen has been 25 people at mine, and we have multiple events throughout the week. Even multiple on like Tuesday, for example, and we're still getting incredibly good turnouts. And so this is something that is almost unprecedented, that this game has caught fire so much so that the product just is unable to meet the demand. So it's really tough to be able to see. Let's go ahead and look at some of the prices. Again, this is going to be on magicalmeta.inc if you guys want to check these prices for yourselves. Now, this is going to be interesting, and I really, you saw me in the intro talk about the seals in this case, and it very well could be that the seals continue to go up in price, especially as we continue to get more announcements of Set 2. In case you guys haven't seen just yet, or in case you live under a rock, Set 2 is starting to get revealed here and now. The difficult thing about that, of course, is going to be that we have new mechanics and things of that nature that are going to be introduced. The first one of that, of course, is going to be equipment. Now, it's going to be interesting because some of them have very powerful abilities that you then can go ahead and equip to people, or units in this case, to be able to give them an upper hand in this current game. That's the difficult part. Most of the gear, or the equipment that has been revealed so far, have a power cost just to be able to play them. And then not only that, to be able to equip, you also have to pay a 1 power cost to be able to equip it to a unit still. Now, of course, there is that caveat where if you do kill the unit, the gear actually ends up staying behind. It does not go to the graveyard. And so gear destruction also, we could be seeing a slight climb in that price as well, though none has been seen just yet. We are still, 2.5 months until Set 2 gets released here in America. So don't be too antsy about that just yet. We are going to be seeing more cards revealed. But again, unless there's maybe additional seals that are printed in this next set, and again, we are going to be following all the pre-release stuff that is going to be discussed. It's going to be interesting to see if the seals end up going up in price in anticipation for this set too. Now, this is going to be really interesting to see. The Yasuo Unforgiven actually has seen a decent increase as well, but we're seeing, Deadwood Predator having a very slight fall, though not very much. Same with Showstopper. Set has been going up in price, and unfortunately, he's not necessarily an expensive deck outside of Showstopper and Set himself. Otherwise, it's actually a very well-priced deck. So it's like if those two cards can just fall in price even 50%, that could be a very viable deck for people to be able to play. Now, likewise, we're seeing these shifts in price a little bit. Flashes are at least, they were at $40. They've fallen in $7 since this last video that we've done. We've also seen the Volibear Imposing even take a little bit of an uptick, not much. And same with Zonia's Hourglass going up to $15, give or take. And so this is going to be interesting to see how this continues to build. But at the same time, it seems like a lot of this is actually teetering off, which is very comforting, at least to see. Now, I do think there is still a chance that before Houston, we will see that final uptick in price, just because of those people who are trying to maybe pull those final pieces needed, those Thousand Tails, those Caffeine Rains, whatever it might be, and they can't. That could be very difficult. And so because of that, they're like, well, I have to bite the bullet and buy these cards, and that can drive up the price final. And then after Houston, I'm theorizing again that prices should start to come down, especially once Wave 2 actually starts to hit. So some things to be able to look forward to at least. And again, there are still a lot of these cards that are being sold. One that's interesting, I gotta say, is Hidden Blade actually taking the #1 spot as the most sold card of the last 24 hours. Really interesting to be able to see there. Otherwise, yes, of course, these Chaos Rune and runes in general are going to be the top selling ones, surprisingly. And that's, again, going to be due to the fact of the only way to really get runes at this point are going to be through booster packs. That is going to change at set 2. They are releasing a booster draft box that is going to be coming for 4 players to draft 6 packs each. And then they also have 96 runes that are included in the deck box themselves, or in the game box themselves. So that's something to look forward to here. Now, you can kind of see what people are additionally trying to build. And I think we're seeing even a little bit of an uptick maybe in like Yasuo or things of that nature. We're seeing Victor that might be up in price a little bit. And I'm thinking even Lee Sin might be inching his way into the meta. He is a very powerful deck that is able to take it to the top decks and be able to give them challenging games. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how that continues to go. But I mean, still, the daily average here being 58 for Lecturing Yordle is really good. Ride the Wind, such a powerful card. Going to be 57 sold for the day at around 67 cents. Again, still moderately competitive there as well. And I mean, even still, Harness Dragon, you're looking at 54 sold in the day at $1.32. Stupefy, a lot of these blue staples are going to be mainly for like Kaisa, Victor, even Ari for that matter. And that can be a little bit difficult here. Defies are still going at a pretty good price, but the hardest part, again, is going to be Stack Deck. It really sucks that Stack Deck, you know, for an uncommon is being so expensive. It's like, why would I want to pay $6 to $8 for an uncommon? The only three of from a specific seller at this point is literally going for $8 a piece. So, you know, $9 a piece right there if you want. Somehow this guy has 47. He probably was the one who bought up this market here. And then, of course, the biggest annoyance of TCG Player, I really wish they had a separate listing, even completely away from the English, where it was just like checkbox if you want to look at the Chinese exclusives, but then keep them completely separate. That would be really nice to be able to see, because I hate this crap. You know, oh, look, we can buy a Chinese one for $3. Oh, yeah, great. I don't care. But it also kind of tricks you in the market. Now, I will say this. I am happy about TCG Arena. I was seeing, or TCG Player, sorry, because I did finally add to cart, and on the lowest listing, it didn't say, sorry, this listing is not available. So it looks like they finally started getting that fixed, which is very helpful. But again, this price increase is just absolutely insane. You know, just seeing how these have climbed and fallen, it's hard to see. It really is. But we'll see how this continues to go and how the market continues to grow here. But I'm going to be curious to see what else is going to be, you know, happening with this market. Now, of course, all in all, things are, you know, again, teetering off here. You're still seeing Thousand Tail Watcher has stopped at $44 and is hovering around that. You're going to see maybe a day where it goes up to 45, another day that it goes down to closer to 40. That's just how it is. I still wish that they fixed a lot of these prices to where it actually reflected what is actually being shown, where it's like, sorry, but there's not 69 listings, nice, by the way, at $3. That's just not how it is. And that gets really annoying because you get your hopes up. Stack Deck has finally come down in price and you're like, oh, wait, no, it's $8. You know, and that can be very disheartening. That's something we don't want to see. Sprite Mother is also going to be a really big one in Kaisa and Ari, for example, going at $4 as an uncommon, one of the more expensive uncommons. Same with Retreat, going for near $5 as an uncommon. Falling Star hasn't fallen in price much, and it's really sad because going in on opening day and the Saturday after that, we saw the price going at between $2 and $3, and then it skyrocketed to $22, and now it's come back down, and we're seeing it at $13, $14. I sometimes feel like a weatherman with my movements. Sorry, guys, thought that came to my head. Sonia's Hourglass that we looked at again going in at $14. That still isn't necessarily even reflecting the Chinese prices that we saw when they had their first regional, which is something really interesting to consider. We saw actually in the first regionals for China that even just Zonia's Hourglass was going for near $20 a piece. And luckily we haven't gone to that extreme yet, but we are going at about 15. So not much better. Now, Darius has actually fallen a lot in price. We were seeing him between $20 and $25 about a week and a half ago, and now has teetered off into about $11 to $12, maybe $13 at that point. Very viable. Still would like to see him under 10 at this case. And again, I really do think $7 for Darius would be very viable here, but that might not be happening until Wave 2 ends up coming out. Now, Mundo actually has been one of the, and Kiana actually, these two have been the ones that have seen some really big price increases as well, which is really interesting. I mean, we had a Kiana at one point going for near $5, 300 items sold on that for between 2 and 628, give or take, on October 30th to November 1st. Now, of course, that was right before the price hike, and then it ended up just climbing from there on out. I do feel kind of bad about giving one away to a friend, but, you know, I digress. I'm not playing that color. And so, you know, and all of these are good. You can go ahead and take a look. Boom, it automatically adds to cart. Again, that's a relief to be able to see, not the price, but the fact that it actually is showing the next one. Tasty Faithful is also another one. It had been at $3 for about a week and a half, 2 weeks after release as well. Now going up to $6 because, one, it is a great budget option, but it's, I mean, it's climbing in price now. But it is just such a good card in general, and people in America and, you know, in English in general are figuring out the power of this card. And so I'm going to be very curious to see how this will actually increase in price. But again, I really do think $6, $7 is going to be probably the peak here. Same with like Fiora, nothing really new there. Climbed up in price a little bit. Vi might be going up in price a tiny bit as well. Depends on, you know, proving ground allocations and things of that nature. People who do have to build Annie from scratch, you know, that can be very difficult. You know, the nice part is Jinx at least does come with a single Vi, which can help out a lot, but still, that can be very difficult. Likewise, Leona is going to be really interesting. A bit increase in price from this last week, going up now to between $4 and $6 at this point. We have a good amount of listings, 58 listings here. And with that, it is starting at around $4. No play sets, though, really available until about $5. So keep that in mind. And then we actually have multiple play sets, 20 there in that case. And this is not necessarily going to be a main decked card in this case, unless you are playing Leona specifically. But likewise, she can be a very good side deck card if you're playing Victor or any other yellow, you know, decks in this case. So really good to be able to see. Sona, same thing. Same with Draven. They're going up a little bit, but not nearly as steep as what we've seen in the past, which has been really good to be able to see. Likewise, everything else actually in the common, uncommon, you know, and not the sought-after staples that are needed have actually been at pretty good prices. Rasha, for example, has gone up a little bit, I mean, but only about 10 cents, so nothing really to bat an eye at. Primal Strength has gone up, I think, about 50 cents in this past week. Yeah, it looks like about 50 cents. And so not necessarily anything horrible, but again, I do think we are going to still see a little bit of a price increase until at least we are done with the Houston regionals. Then things should really start coming down as we continue to get closer to that wave 2. But again, the caveat with that is how successful are they going to be with wave 2? So far, I've been very happy with how they've been able to communicate with us, and they've been able to deliver fairly well on the promises that they've wanted to, they wanted to tell us about. That's also why, though, I'm very worried still, just because trading card games and things of that nature, it could be something very difficult to, you know, to deliver on, especially with the demand. People are just, you know, trying to price gouge or trying to scalp a lot of these in that case. And luckily they are going a lot to the local game store communities. But again, the caveat with that is that there's a lot of people who are angry because they're like, well, I don't have a local game store in my community that's even playing Riftbound, especially in those smaller towns or where like your closest Riftbound game store is over an hour away. It can be really difficult. And then on top of that, they're like, well, also you're only going to be allowed one box per person. And it's like, gee, thanks. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So that can be very disheartening in that case. Now, what I'm a little bit curious about for this next set, and that might be changing in price as we continue here, might be Echo. He just has such a really great ability. I'm really going to be curious to see what he is going to climb at. He's only at $1 right now, all things considered. And he is such a powerful card, but he's just not necessarily meta relevant currently. And so that's going to be something really interesting to see in this future. You know, what Echo is potentially going to be able to do in this next set. Again, just theorizing, but we will see. Otherwise, everything else has been kind of pretty basic in price, nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, Seal of Unity going up to $30, Seal of Focus, $13. We have seen a bunch of seals, for example, that have started to kind of climb up in price. Again, mainly potentially due to set 2 and the reveals that have come thus far. We'll see how that ends up working out. But really, the only ones that really use seals in this case are maybe going to be, you know, Jinx and Darius. Otherwise, you know, the seals are just kind of like a good thought. We did see like a Victor that used one of each, one blue, one yellow, from a video that I did earlier this week, but that literally was just one of each. And still, otherwise, like, things are looking relatively good. Now, here we are. Dead Bloom Predator, of course, still going to be at $100. And then just like that, Dazzling Aurora looks like it very well could be falling in price a little bit. That's a pretty comforting right there. 3 Chinese versions, dumb. But then, yeah, you're looking at 67 right here, and it's available. Tempting. And then after that, $75 and things of that nature. A play set right here to be able to go up for, I mean, gosh, about $220 at that point. Oh, I didn't mean to close that. And that can be a little bit difficult as well to bite the bullet on that. So we'll see how that ends up going. But I mean, hey, Dazzling Aurora at least falling in price could be very comforting to be able to see. Again, though, it doesn't need to be even lower than the 44, and hopefully that happens. Now, White Flame Protector has been one of the highest climbers. This has been really interesting to be able to see. It's just been continually going up from even 31 now up to, you know, around $57 at that point, and it has come down a tiny bit, but not enough to actually make a difference, and that's the sad part. Now, we still do have a bunch of one-ofs, and that's going to be the hard part. The only 2 of at this point is going to be at $60, and that can be a pretty big commitment here. And so again, it's like, go ahead, unless you're going to your regionals, unless you're going to the Houston regionals or Vegas or Orlando, things like that, build budget at this point, you know, have fun with this game. A lot of locals, unless they are going to Vegas or Houston, you know, we're playing fun decks. We have a lot of people who are bringing Lee Sins and Victors and, you know, things of that nature, and having a good time and doing a really good job. Unfortunately, we did see an increase in Teemo decks in price, unfortunately. I'm still so mad about Showstopper. But, you know, that's just how it's going to be. Likewise, the Kaisas, little dip in price, not much, $75. Time Warp still at 100. Cathian Rain still at 63. Invert Timelines. I think people finally are starting to figure out how good this card is. I mean, I bought one from a friend for $20 last week, and it has already shot up to $40. Very well could be a bunch of people trying to build Teemo in that case, unfortunately. But it is just a good deck or a good card to main or side. And there's even only a couple left that are at that price before, you know, Invert Timelines is going to shoot up to $60, which in that case, it's just not worth it. So with that, of course, Baited Hook, I did end up buying Baited Hook. I traded my Zenith Blade for a Baited Hook and was able to finish Darius. Ended up going 2-1. I lost to Annie, unfortunately, 2-1 in that case. But man, it was such a good game. I'm going to build Annie, guys, and we are going to be bringing Annie to our locals, and so that'll be really fun. Anyway, side note. And then also, even Bullet Time being $30, ended up selling my Bullet Time for around that price. I did do like 22 to a colleague at my locals in that case, which has been really nice. Even Ari Inquisitive now going up to $17. Now, that's going to be something interesting. At least we are seeing this downward trend, and I think we will continue to do so. This is interesting as well. $13 for a near mint, and it's there. So even lower than the Chinese one, which is really interesting, but no play sets again for a while. So you are going to have to pay the shipping cost of about $131 to $150, but still, I mean, not necessarily a bad price, and very well could be falling down. The only reason I don't necessarily love Ari Inquisitive is just mainly because she is at 3 might, and because of that can fall to Falling Star every single time. And when you're seeing as much Kaisa as you're seeing, that's going to be very difficult to try to get around, unfortunately. Now, with that being said, Unchecked Power has stayed at the same price. Victor has gone up a little bit, not much, couple dollars, but it is just such a easy deck to be able to build. And luckily, the thing I think that is keeping this as low as what we're seeing is going to be the fact that Victor is only a one of in the Victor deck. And so good to see that in that case. Otherwise, again, Unforgiven is going up in price. Foxfire has gone up. It used to be 11. It's now 18 in this case. Dragon's Rage, $9 actually. Pretty good, especially, again, if you're thinking about building Lee Sin. He is one of the most powerful and I think slept on cards in this case, because you move an enemy unit, then choose another enemy unit at its destination. They deal damage equal to their mights to each other. Yes, it's a little expensive in the sense of cost, but holy, is this a good, I mean, just such a good, a good card to be able to utilize. Guerrilla Warfare for Teemo, again, not necessarily needed, usually just a 1 or 2 of in this case, $19. Ended up playing a game against Teemo this weekend. That video is going to be coming out later this week. Very good Teemo deck in that case. Something to definitely keep in mind. I'm waiting for him to finish his Teemo video first. That way he gets the initial wave of those viewers. And then, of course, I'll do mine after the fact, because he did a really good job with that deck, and it definitely should be one to watch out for. And so I'll post the live stream and his channel down in the description below for you guys. He's breaking into the Riftbound community fast. Now, likewise, Possession is going to be a really good one as well. Little climb in price, but not necessarily too much. Again, most people are only running a 1 of, so it's not going to be anything to really bat an eye at. Lee Sin, some people, again, are building Lee Sin, so you're seeing a bit climb up in price. But again, the alt arts aren't necessarily, especially for Lee Sin, all that expensive. I think $7 to $10. And so if you do want a really good looking, my favorite alt art in this set is the Lee Sin, green Lee Sin alt art. And the texture on it is top notch. And so it's like the good soup. Anyway, and then with that, Set Brawler, of course, going for 33, pretty normal. Kaisa Survivor, 97, and especially when the original art is only 87, it's like, well, why not just spend $10 more at this point? If we're already going to bite the bullet, we might as well get the alt art. I already felt bad enough about buying this one at $60, and it has climbed up even more in price. Yay. Oh, that's the sad part. But, that's how it is sometimes. And so, again, I'm really hoping that they are able to deliver on their promise of this wave 2, and that they're able to do so successfully. Likewise, is set 2 going to be having these same issues? They've already said that they do have the same cutting problems and the same rarity issues that they've seen in the first set, which means that already the allocation of a lot of set 2 has probably already been printed and packaged at this point as well. And so, again, are they going to, after this wave 1, continue to immediately ramp up set 2 production as well? Would not surprise me, but still, again, time will tell. Now, of course, this Yasuo Remorseful is going to be really good, too. Again, $8 for that. Really good price. There it is, $9 for the Lee Sin alternate art. Gosh, I've seen this in person. The texture on it looks, so good. So good. It's my favorite. I'm biased. Now, with that, of course, we're taking a look around at the rest of this. The Kaisa Evolutionary, again, another really good alt art going in at $7. And otherwise, everything else has kind of just gone and fallen a little bit to the wayside. Again, don't buy the boxes. Don't buy, packs at $15 in this case. it's just not worth it right now. Overnumbered, sure. I mean, but again, they should be starting to come down again once wave 2 releases at this point. So just be a little bit more patient, wait for those to be able to come down in price. I mean, let's be real. The Ari overnumbered, the best one, next to probably Lee Sin, and Lee Sin's only 65 at that point. That's just so good. But the Nine-Tailed Fox overnumbered, oh, it looks good. I also love the Leona here, but still very expensive pricing. And I really hope that these prices are able to come down. There's a lot of people who are, having to bite the bullet and be like, hey, well, I'm spending $500 creating my competitive deck. This is sometimes just how set ones are, and I hate that. I wish that it was more affordable, but unfortunately right now it's not. I still want to trust Riot. I'm still a little bit disgruntled with no announcements for additional printing on the proving grounds outside of we're including them in the next packs. I'm worried about that because the people who do want to go ahead and play the Annie, the Yees, or even the Lux at this point, no one plays Garen, stop, are potentially, having to go the hard route to be able to do this, or even just waiting until set 2. And at that point too, you're still waiting. I mean, we're also even seeing like the special edition Teemos that are in the prize packs, going for around $200 as well. And I mean, Teemo, he's going to be the most sought after, in that case. And so rightfully so. But still, I'm really hoping, and I do think that Riot should be able to have a successful wave 2. They should be able to fix a lot of the issues that they have. And they are just relying on us to be a bit more patient with that. I get the aggression, or I get the frustration, not the aggression, calm that down, the frustration, and rightfully so. I'm frustrated in and of myself with all of this and hoping that we are able to go ahead and get better pricing here sooner rather than later. It all hinges on wave 2. And that's a little bit scary, but I still have that faith in Riot. So how has your Nexus Nights actually been so far? How have you been able to perform, and what have you noticed a lot of people being able to build so far? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below, and until next time, guys, have a good one.